My name's Leanne Kemp and I'm the founder and CEO of Everledger. Blockchain, emerging markets, the Sustainable Development Goals. These are my passions. Technological progress is often associated with the creation of novel and useful products through innovation and ingenuity. Yet in several emerging markets, low-income economies, it's often more common to adopt, adapt and scale technologies created elsewhere. Now, by doing so, private enterprises in these emerging countries could use those technologies to create markets and expand their product and service offerings to the underserved or unserved populations. A process that produces new customers, buyers, sellers and employees. And this transforms the pursuit of profits into a driver of economic growth, as well as higher productivity and living standards. But it also gives technology a central role in emerging market development. Now, examples of technology-driven market creation range from Peru, where partnerships between telecom providers and banks provide financial services to the unbanked population. In Tanzania, where technologies like blockchain and Everledger help to underpin emerging markets with gemstones, as well as in India, where advanced farming drives agribusiness opportunities for smallholder farms. There are several examples where private enterprise in emerging economies leverage technologies to create markets and accelerate growth and development. Adopting new technologies can also allow emerging economies to leapfrog the steps that were once traditional in development laddering. For example, low-income nations that never established a telecommunications landline infrastructure or retail banking system could bypass those development stages due to the profusion of mobile phones globally and the innovative financial services now that are being made available through them. Yet, the path from technology adoption to market creation and the eventual fruition is certainly not obstacle-free. The penetration and diffusion of adopted technologies in developing countries is often too low to sustain new markets that depend on them. And moreover, technology alone is not sufficient to create fully functioning markets. It must be complemented by appropriate government and regulatory policy. It is highly dependent on infrastructure improvements, especially in the energy, water and telecommunications industries. Of course, none of these obstacles are insurmountable, and most will give way to the cooperation between private sector, government, outside actors such as development finance institutions. We have many development finance institutions globally, and all aim to use technology to help accomplish the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. The general strategy entails clearing a path to allow private capital to be allocated at sufficient scale to address development gaps in emerging markets. Now, each emerging market intervention has the potential to alter the dynamics of markets by promoting one or several of the 5 distinct attributes I'm about to tell you. The first, competitiveness, in which markets allow firms to enter and compete while incentivising innovation and efficiencies. The second, resilience, with markets less vulnerable to shocks, volatility and instability. Third, integration, with enhanced connectivity within or across markets. Fourth, inclusiveness, with markets accessible to groups still unserved or undisturbed. And sustainability, this consciousness where firms and individuals adopting environmental practices and socially sustainable technologies are critical. Technology is critical to each and every one of those attributes. And as an entrepreneur, when creating markets and driving innovation and development, we look to those 5 attributes of competitiveness, resilience, integration, inclusiveness, sustainability. As the 5 attributes paint a picture of the technology's ability to expand across products, services, job opportunities for individuals, access to markets, finance, competition for business, and a greater efficiency and responsiveness for and from governments. With the increased use of big data, blockchain, AI, new algorithms and cloud computing, there is a need to reconfigure the structure of economies, and digital platforms provide a set of shared techniques, technologies and interfaces to a broad number of users. So therefore, when I think in a digital platform, social and economic interactions are mostly mediated online. Market disruptions that produce leapfrogging can be made through products or platforms. And any such platform can enable a new set of actors to realise profits. So for example, profits from the excess capacity of a guest bedroom or a car share platform. Of course, platform-based disruptions can have effects on an industry and beyond its existing boundaries, and have the capacity to produce really large societal shifts as well. According to the World Economic Forum, a fundamental shift is going on in how we produce, consume and relate to one another, driven by the convergence of both the physical and digital world and us being human beings at its core. This has implications on service delivery by the private sector in developing and emerging countries, and also offers tremendous opportunities to advance the development of the Sustainable Development Goals by focusing on how we provide access to finance, energy and education services. New technologies arrive in emerging countries with high expectation amongst its development actors and yields great potential for citizens of those countries. Adopted innovations and technologies can raise productivity levels and living standards without relying on increased labour inputs, but there is considerable scope for emerging countries to adopt technologies step by step, moving closer to the technology frontier. And if it's to be effective, technology must take local context into consideration. Global productivity growth has largely stalled since the global financial crisis, and especially now in today's COVID environment. It's actually affected both emerging and mature economies. The latter, mature economies, continue to exhibit productivity levels 5 times higher than the former. This vast gap suggests that increasing the rate of productivity growth in developing countries is crucial to a rebound in growth and a broad-based increase in the standards of living globally. The cause of the productivity growth slowdown in emerging markets are manifold, complex, and have extreme interdependencies. Some are cynical, while others, structural changes in domestic, political, economy and environments, the global financial and trade systems are definitely highly uncertain. But one thing for sure is that digital technology has lowered the threshold for technology-driven growth in emerging markets, an opportunity that should not be missed. And when I think about the moment in time where the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goal, is the world's to-do list, where we start to think about the transformation to shareholder to stakeholder value, we are not forgetting the importance of the protocols that exist within what is largely a consciousness around the digital global commons, especially as those that are on the frontier, the pioneers of blockchain, begin to transform from what we once knew was the World Wide Web to the World Wide Ledger.